Brought to you by Mint Mobile. Stay tuned for a special offer at the end of the show. Hi, and welcome to the Mobile Tech Podcast. I'm your host, Miriam Joar, and today is Friday, November 7th, 2025. And I've got the most excellent Helena Stone of GeekSpin with me. Hi, Helena. How are you?
Good. It's so nice to be back. It's been quite a while since I've been on the show.
I know. And I was like, I need to get Helena on, especially after reading that incredibly cool bike story from Segway on GeekSpin. I was like, oh my God, GeekSpin's doing e-bike reviews. Yes. We're going to talk about that. I've got a couple of phones to do show and tell for the Patreons. If you're listening to the podcast and you don't know this yet, there is a Patreon for this podcast, patreon.com/tanker, like my handle, TNKGRL. You can get the video version of this podcast every week for $5 a month. And you get it a day in advance, which is nice because you get to see our faces, devices, fun things like what we're going to talk about next. And you get to, get it a little before everyone else. So if you want to support me, consider Patreon, patreon.com/TNKGRL. And then it's rumor mill week. Like last couple of weeks, phones came out. Like we actually got the announcements. This week, it's just like, oh, what if Samsung does this and Apple does that? So I want your thoughts on some of this stuff. You've played with some of the phones that are like the original versions that these are evolving from. So I'm just kind of curious about that. Cool?
Sure.
Yeah. All right. So let's start with some show and tell because I think we should get that out of the way. It's kind of silly. So, the thing that I think is the best here is that two phones came out last week. I mean, technically the Redmagic I just showed a second ago came out in China before that, but these phones are like just arrived. I just got them. So it's kind of nice. The Redmagic is right here and it's a gaming phone. Have you used a Redmagic phone before?
I have not in terms of reviewing one, but I've played with them at shows.
So they're kind of crazy. First of all, they've kind of settled on this like monolith from 2001 A Space Odyssey design for a while. And I kind of dig it. Like, Samsung did it a little bit for a while with the Note/S series Ultra phones, right? Remember when they did the really blocky ones? But now they've kind of gone to this kind of iPhone-like vibe with rounded corners. It's fine. It's fine. But I feel like they kind of lost a bit of that personality. And Redmagic just like, they're making it square every year. And no camera bump. Like, how often do you see a flagship with no camera bump?
That is amazing to me. When you first picked it up, I was like, what's going on? It's missing something.
Yeah, so the cameras are just integrated. They've been doing this for a couple of years on their phones now, no camera bump. But the big news on this one is that there's three big news items that Redmagic didn't do before. They've always had a fan. You can see it right where my finger is there. That circle is not a camera, that small one. It's a fan. And they've always had that. That cools the phone down when you're playing games. 20,000 RPM, crazy stuff. I think it's even faster than that now. Anyway, the point is that this fan's been there. But having a fan, what does that mean to your phone? Holes, right? Like there's a vent here. You can see it. And then there's a vent on the other side. The air goes through it. So can you make a water-resistant phone with a fan? Yes, you can. They did it. This is the first Redmagic phone that's water resistant.
Wow, that's impressive.
Not dust resistant. It does have IPX8. So the 6 that we normally would get that with the X's, not happening. We're getting no dust resistance. But I think what's happening if you immerse this thing, the fan, if it's spinning, because the water will basically instantly stop it, it detects that and it stops it because, it gets like, the motors detect it. But the other thing is it's liquid cooled. This loop, you see this blue thing in the back. Apparently, I haven't figured out how to do it yet because I literally just got the phone like 2 days ago and I just set it up this morning. But this will like kind of light up and spin. Like you'll see the bubbles of like liquid in there. It's liquid cooled.
That's so freaking cool.
I mean, like, I love this. I mean, this is not for me. Like, I'm not a hardcore gamer. If you're playing games, like, this is a phone you can buy in the US with 5G support. Costs $749 and has a Snapdragon 8 Elite Gen 5 in it.
Wow, that's $750. I was not expecting that.
Yeah, it starts at that. I don't know what the exact specs are. And of course, you get like shoulder buttons. You see like these capacitive things here and there. Like, so you can like, do while you're playing. And then you get a dedicated game mode. So watch this. This is crazy. If I slide this thing here, I got to unlock it. Here we go. And if I do this, So now I can have all my games in this special launcher. I don't know why the music doesn't stop. I'm going to have to figure out the settings, but you get the idea. So, in that mode, the fan starts up. Actually, we should see, does the rear do anything? No, I guess I have to play a game or something. But it's cool, right? Because I think it's gimmicky, but I feel like if you're a hardcore gamer, this phone is going to stay cool while you're playing for days. And it has a 7,500 milliamp hour battery.
And it has that design flair of a real serious PC game, right?
Yeah, it feels like you could kill your worst enemy by throwing that at them. Anyway, look, it's cool. It's got USB-C down there and 2 speakers. Oh, do you notice there's no camera hole anywhere on the front? Because it's under display. And it's the 3rd or 4th year they've been doing that. And so it's getting better now. It's getting to the point where, unlike the Samsung one, which, by the way, you can see, you remember the one on the Fold phones? They stopped now. The latest Fold 7 doesn't have, it actually has a hole in the screen. But in the past, the Galaxy had the kind of trying to hide the camera, and it looked bad. Like on the display, you could see it. And the quality was kind of poor. This, no. They've perfected it. It's kind of cool. So this phone, I'm going to test it. I'll let you know. I think I'm reviewing this for Hot Hardware at some point, so stay tuned for that. But I've always liked the Redmagics, and they're always priced right. And the only thing is software sometimes can be a little, iffy. Like you don't get a lot of updates and stuff, but they're pretty solid out of the box. So, And then this display is gorge. Look at it. I think the back cameras are 50 and 50, ultra wide and main. The main has a YS, so it's actually a decent camera system. For the first few years of Redmagic phones, the cameras were bleh. But now, they're actually pretty decent. So they're caught up on that. And then, as I said, you get the power and volume, and that special slider you can slide to put it in game mode. So anytime you want, off you go. So the big 3 innovations, I said there's a 3rd innovation. The first one was the fan, the waterproofing. The fan works, well, it doesn't work, but it doesn't bother that it has a fan. It's water resistant. The second is that it has this liquid cooling thing. The third, and this is the first time on a Redmagic ever, wireless charging.
Wow, nice.
Yeah. I mean, they've always avoided it because they were trying to put the biggest battery they could in there. But the battery is 7,500 milliamp hours. So it's going to run you for normal day-to-day use 3 days. For gaming, you can probably game for a day and a half or something hardcore on this thing. It's insane. So I'm excited about this. Yeah.
And it doesn't look too big to have such a big battery. I'm pretty impressed.
Well, so it's silicon carbon, right? How all the Chinese phones have gone to 7,000 milliamp hour? Like the Oppo that I'm reviewing for you, the Find X9 Pro, we've been talking about on the show for 3 weeks in a row now. I love that phone so much. It's right here, in fact. But that phone has a 7,500 milliamp hour battery as well, right? It's in the special case right now. The one that you can adapt the crazy Canon telephoto thing on. I think this is the thing. This, we're going to talk about OnePlus. I think they officially released the US battery capacity, and we know that the Chinese capacity is 7,300 milliamp hour. I've gotten a bunch of Poco phones and a bunch of Realme phones with 7,000 milliamp hour battery. I think this is the new standard. And the fact that they're thinner inside means they can add wireless charging and things like that. I think it's super cool. I want Apple and Samsung to do this. We're going to talk about that, actually. I have the Air here. I like the Air. It's really cool. I don't like that it doesn't have an ultra wide. That bothers me. It's right here, actually. It's recording the audio for this show right now as a backup. This phone is, if it has silicon carbon battery, it would have no problems with battery life. And it could be just as thin. Same with the Edge, the S25 Edge. Do you think they're going to do that? Because I think they're kind of chicken about it.
I haven't seen any rumors like that. So,
but do you think they should do that?
Oh, of course they should. And especially since they're focused on the Air and they obviously realize that people want thinner phones. So yeah, absolutely. Will they? I don't know. Apple's always very cautious.
Yeah.
They take a long time to bring those things to market.
Indeed. The next phone I have to show was launched last week. And in the time since the last podcast, they sent me one, which is kind of bonkers. I was not expecting that at all. I actually emailed them. Well, they sent me the PR and I was just okay, cool. When are you sending a review unit? And they're like, it's on the way already. We're going to have tracking in a couple of hours. I'm like what? I live in 2 places, so I kind of like the PR people to check with me first. But as you know, Nothing PR has had a change of people recently. And even though I know the new people already, they weren't aware of my little arrangement I had with the previous person. So they just sent it to me to SF. Thankfully, I was in SF. I'm in San Francisco today. The background always shows San Francisco, but sometimes I'm in Vancouver. You guys already know all this if you're listening to the show regularly. But this thing, it's really shiny. It's just hard for me to show that it does have that kind of glass back with the depth. The problem is that they haven't really done much with the depths. You see, like there is like a bit of stuff under there. There's a little LED light here. And then, I don't know, oh, it's not going to work. But you see there's like a bunch of little things like that. And oh, it's going to go away. I don't know. It's not like at the bottom here, you see some stuff under there. It's not like the other Nothing phones that seem to have a lot of like fake hardware under the glass. This is much more simplistic and it does have 3 cameras. One of them is a macro 2 megapixel useless sticker cam. The other 2 are pretty decent. There's an ultra wide and a 50 megapixel main. Do you remember the CMF phones? Have you played with those?
I have not.
So CMF by Nothing, is a cheaper brand that promo sells in India. And they've done 2 phones. One last year, the CMF phone 1, which was pretty decent. You could buy in the US for $249, and it was a solid phone. But, it was kind of like this. It was essentially detuned significantly. And this is $249 in the US as well. Then this past year, like this spring, they did the Nothing CMF by Nothing Phone 2 Pro. And I reviewed that, and it is kind of insane because it has 3 cameras that are good. It has a telephoto for $279. Wow. It's basically exactly the same as this phone, other than that transparency in the back. Same processor, Dimensity 7300. Same display, OLED 120 hertz. Same, like a single mono speaker, so saving some money in some areas. Same RAM and all that, I think 8 gigs. It has a micro SD slot, this phone, so does that CMF. So they're very much twins, but instead of a 2 megapixel macro, they put a proper telephoto in that other phone for $30 more than this. I would get the CMF phone because it's sold in the US. So I think it's really fascinating that they're bringing those to North America because they're not going to sell a lot of them. In fact, this kind of feels like they went through the parts bin and were like, we have some parts left over from that CMF. Let's make another Nothing phone out of it. I don't know. Have you been kind of like noticing that a lot of phone manufacturers, like you see it with Poco too, right? Like the phones are like identical to the Redmis, right?
Yep. Poco does that a lot.
Like, what do you think? Like, is that fair? Like, I mean, most users won't know, right? Because they don't like us follow everything.
I also imagine it has to do with their markets, right? They're distributing in different markets, so they're able to get away with that. I mean, Oppo does that with OnePlus to an extent, right?
Yeah, and Realme as well. Yeah, they have the Realme phones. Like, if you look at now the Oppo Find X9 Pro, and there's a OnePlus 15, and then there is the Realme GT8 Pro, which I also have, and they're literally like mix and match of the parts bin for all 3 of them. Like they're flagships. They have all very similar on paper, but they all have slight differences. And they're all kind of like, let's pick this part and this part. It's very Poco, Redmi, Xiaomi, but now on the Oppo side.
Well, all the same factory for sure, right?
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm not against it. I'm just saying like, it's interesting that Nothing, a company that's 5 years old or whatever, is able to do that already, because this is essentially a twin to that CMF phone 2 Pro, which just happens to have a slightly better setup. But instead, you get a telephoto. For me, I think that's for that price point at $279. I think that's acceptable. Like, give me a telephoto that's actually good, or do you want like a crappy sticker cam 2 megapixel? But the thing I find weird is that there's only that. I see this lit up right now. That means I have a notification of some kind. But it's the only LED, the only light in the back. Like, you remember how they did all this cool stuff?
Yeah,
like, I feel like they're messing with us. This is like effing with us.
It almost would have been better to not have it,
or at least make it a line, like to kind of reminisce of the old things. But look, this is good. It's got a nice display. If you want to see some colors here, let me bring up the app tray so you can see a little better. This is a good screen. Like there's nothing wrong with this phone for this money, other than that stupid 2 megapixel macro. But I just feel like the one LED glyph, like, you gotta be kidding. This is kind of silly, Oh, Nothing. You're turning into OnePlus. Sorry, Carl.
I was actually thinking that. That does sound like something from the OnePlus playbook.
I mean, don't you think that they should like stick with maybe like, I don't know, less product? Like,
that's actually exactly what I was thinking as you went over this new phone. I'm like, I think Nothing makes really great phones, but they just don't have enough marketing awareness in the US. And the fact that their phones can be gotten in the US, like they should be focused on getting more exposure to their flagships and their mid range.
I mean, I like the way it looks. I kind of wish it sent me the white ones. I think the light colors look better with this transparent back, but it does have a little red accent there, like the other phones, you know. And oh my God, I'm talking to Gemini. Well, I got to stop that. Okay.
It's a beautiful phone. I think it's priced really well. I think that the US needs more really nice budget
This
phones.
is better than Moto G any day. I would buy this over a Moto G. Absolutely. Any Moto G.
Well, Moto G just came out with We're
going to talk about that. Yeah.
Yeah. So
you wrote about it. But look, you know, USB-C, you've got micro SD and SIM tray down here. So it does micro SD and SIM. You know, yeah, I think it's solid. It looks good. It feels really well made for $249. Wow. So tell us about the Moto Gs, because, you know, I feel like they're always kind of very iterative and very much resting on their laurels. There's no OLED there or anything like that.
Yeah, you know, I feel like every time they come out with a new series each year, it feels just like a very slight update. But somehow looking at this year's series, I'm like, actually, they look really nice. Like,
I mean, they look good.
Yeah, they look really, really, really nice. The colors, the vegan leather finish, they actually look like more premium mid-range phones than they do look like budget phones. The spec sheet is really solid. They're just not super exciting.
But they are less than 200, so they're a different category again, right?
That's fair. Yes, like 169, and I think for the Play, and 200 for the G, or maybe it's the opposite. I don't remember offhand.
It's roughly that. I'm looking at your story right now. I mean, look, they have 120 hertz displays. Then again, they've been doing this for a long time on their G series, right? They've given us LCD, so no OLEDs. I was hoping they might switch to OLED at some point, because the reason I say that is because you know how they have that chin at the bottom, like a big bezel just at the bottom edge, because it's an LCD, and so they have to wrap the cable around, and it costs much more money to do that on an LCD to make the bezels even than on an OLED, because OLED is thinner and you don't have that thing at the bottom to deal with as much. So I wish they would switch to an OLED, even if it was just a 60 hertz OLED, to be honest. I feel like at that price point, it would just be cool. Like LCD is just, I don't know. That's my only thing.
Is there, what phone in the US can offer that?
Nothing, sorry, not the brand, but nothing is available. Really, you're right, in that price point. However, in, you know, India, Asia, China, you'll get something with an OLED at that price. Perhaps they'll sacrifice the high refresh, but I don't know. I kind of feel like Moto, being a Chinese company, essentially, you know, they could do it. I just don't know. At least the chips are okay. MediaTek's Dimensity 6300 is pretty solid, right? And just looking at the other specs here, you're getting pretty nice batteries, relatively decent fast charging, 30 watt on one of them. And yeah. Okay, pricing. You remember you were saying 169 for the
Play?
The G
No.
Play, and then for the regular G, it's exactly 200. You're right. I think these are good too, but it's just, I feel like the Moto phones, unfortunately, at that price point, are kind of riddled with bloatware. But then again, I'm hearing rumors, and I haven't tried this on the Nothing, the Phone 3A Lite that I just showed. Supposedly, they also have adware and bloatware on there. So maybe that feels really weird for Nothing. That seems... well, there was a big... So I'll link to a story, I think from Ben over at 95Mac, because he's been following this, and apparently the community got really pissed about the bloatware on that Nothing phone that I just showed. And so because, Moto's been in this for a long time and it's a real pain in the ass. When you get a Moto G, you have to spend like a good hour like decluttering it at the end and removing all the weird adware and stuff there is on there.
But you can, right?
But,
That's what's
but you
important.
can. Nothing right now, you can disable apps, but the community is much more hardcore. So that like we want to uninstall these apps. And so apparently nothing has listened and apologized, and they're issuing a software update soon that will, like maybe next month, that will let you actually uninstall these apps.
Wow, I give them a lot of credit for that.
Yeah, but why do that in the first place? I
Money.
mean, they don't do it on the CMF phones. They don't know bloatware there. So what the hell?
It's about margins, to
Yeah.
keep the price down. It's business.
But I think that Carl is the kind of guy who would advocate against that. Like, that's what I'm saying, like nothing was found on this concept of really good software. And that's the thing, that you're going to get much better software on this nothing phone than an equivalent. Even if like when they make a Moto G Power, which is going to be a little more expensive Moto G, like $250, or like even the stylus, the one with the stylus, whatever it's called.
Moto G stylus.
Yeah, that's it. Thank you. Anyway, when they do that, I think we're still going to get bloatware and we're still going to get not as good software as nothing. And so I'm surprised that Carl went like, yeah, okay, so this is, maybe they're testing the waters. They're like, this is not a very important phone for us. CMF obviously is very important to them because it's India centric. So they're actually splitting the two brands. That was a news item a few weeks back. Like completely different companies I'm sure there's going to be like Oppo and OnePlus, under the same manufacturing umbrella kind of things, supply chain. We'll see. But I will let you know, folks, maybe next week when I play with it for a little bit, how bad that is and how easy it is to circumvent, whatever it might be. So far, I haven't noticed anything. But I just set it up this morning. So, really. But yeah, Moto Gs, they're always pretty solid. But I just feel like they could do a little better. But I think like because they're aiming for North America, like if you buy the equivalent phone, just name something else in South America, I think you get a better deal. Either it's cheaper, or you get less adware, or it's better specs.
But they are a very powerful brand in South America. That's their I think their number one market, unless something's changed.
No, absolutely. When I was in Buenos Aires for ahead of my Antarctica cruise last year, like I was amazed, like everywhere, people holding Motos. You go to the stores and like Samsung and Moto occupy the same space in the store kind of thing.
Yeah.
But Samsung's considered more premium, which is interesting. So their prices were ridiculous. Like it was $3,500 for the Z Fold.
$3,500. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I experienced that also in Brazil. With the Motorola. I would constantly thought my Razr was ringing and it wasn't my phone. And in the US, when my phone rings, it's definitely my phone. Like I never question it. People are shocked that Motorola is still in business, which makes me feel so sad because they're making great phones. But yeah, in South America, that they are everywhere.
Yeah. I also forgot to mention when I showed the Redmagic earlier that there is a Nubia, which is a sister brand of Redmagic, is also part of the ZTE, ecosystem. They make a phone that's identical chassis, identical display, but it's an actual flagship. So it's not a gaming phone. It doesn't have the fan, but it has very similar specs. And it has a better camera system, like a proper telephoto and the whole thing. And it is called the Nubia Z series. And this year it's a Z80 Ultra. And that was announced in China a while back, a couple of weeks ago. And at the same time as they made this a global phone this past week, they made the Nubia Z80 Ultra a global phone as well. So that phone is also officially available in the US. It's harder to get as a review unit. I think I have the 70 from last year, the 70 Ultra. I finally finagled one of them from them, but they're very similar in terms of the software and the experience. Just one is a gaming phone, one is more of a camera phone. So I had that as a news item. If you are in North America or in Europe or something in the West, you can now they've left China, those two phones, the Redmagic and the Nubia, which is great. All right, let's see what else we got here. Let's talk about that e-bike. Like, this is the coolest thing that I've seen on GeekSpin in a while. It was your first e-bike review?
This was my first e-bike review. I've rode e-bikes before. I've used them. But when I saw Segway launch that e-bike, I was like, wow, this is really cool because it has so much tech forward features that most e-bikes don't have. You can you can unlock it just by walking near it with your phone using AirLock. It has Apple Find My. It has an app that doesn't just show you the battery, but shows you where you traveled. So you can see history. You can also see all different sorts of health stats connected to the health stats on your phone. Um, it's just such a powerful e-bike from the standpoint of tech features, but and then it's also really powerful in that its performance is excellent, great shock absorption, super smooth ride. It's a really, really great e-bike. But there was one big catch for me,
Mhm.
unfortunately, and that is that it's really big and heavy. When I say heavy, I'm talking about 95 pounds.
Holy crap.
I was struggling. Holy crap, indeed. I
Like,
was
how do
having a
you
hard
stick up
time.
stairs? You can't go upstairs with that.
Oh, no, I definitely can't. One of my team members, Anna, she was able to maneuver it better than I could. She didn't have like, but she's clearly stronger than I am. And I'm tall. I'm 5'7". The bike is made for someone between 5'1" to like 5'9" or something like that range. But I even as tall as I am, I'm not the strongest person in the world. But that's like the caveat I have for anyone interested in this bike. Make sure you've got some strength
Brr.
because the yeah the other catch I would say is that it is a big e-bike. It's a very beautiful e-bike. The design is very like minimalist but powerful looking, but it's quite big, and that's not going to be suitable for like New York. It's crowded. There's a lot happening. Having such a big bike isn't always the most practical thing. It borders into motorbike territory from
Right.
its sheer size.
Yeah.
So what I would love to see from Segway is keep all the features, keep the design IQ, but slim it down. Um, and
Maybe
I would
less
be
range, right?
yes, yeah. That would be fine. Yeah, now I know. Now I'm testing another e-bike, which is coming soon, and it's smaller. I can manage it, but it doesn't have the features
Right.
that Segway has. Segway is doing things that are pretty unusual in the e-bike world.
So is the battery removable on that particular bike?
Yes, it is removable, which is becoming really pretty standard
Yeah.
on most e-bikes, even mid-range e-bikes, even some budget e-bikes. What's nice about it is that it has like a cover.
Mhm.
So you're not just removing the battery, but like essentially you have a cover to leave in place when you do remove the battery, so the bike doesn't look ugly, which is just like a nice design touch. It's clear that they thought things through with the design of the bike. Uh, but yeah, removable. Also, there's a very sophisticated alarm system. So if you do try to even to move it, really, if you move the bike, it's going to scream at you. It
Wow.
has a really loud alarm system. So you got to make sure you have unlocked it or that you have your phone near you.
Right.
And but that alarm system really, no one's going to want to take your bike.
How do you say the name of it? Xafari, I guess?
Uh, I think it's Xafari.
Yeah.
I haven't asked.
I will link to your story on Geekspin, but it's interesting. I'm looking at the photo, like your main headlining photo here, and it does look really sleek and cool. Who do you think this is for? Like, since you've tested it now, you live in New York City. Where do you think this would work best in terms of like geography, environment, like suburbia? Like where?
It probably would. I would say it would be okay, except for in a place like New York City where it's just a little bit more crowded. Um, but yeah, suburbia, absolutely no problem. And I did ride it around New York City. I had a great time with it. The bike itself is so much fun to ride. It's got great shock absorption. It has no problem powering up. It's a really great bike. So, but yeah, suburbia, everywhere else except for maybe maybe a crowded a crowded city, a tight area.
Yeah, this is not the bike you want if you have to take it with you part of your trip on the subway, for example.
Oh no, yeah,
Right? Yeah,
definitely not,
definitely
definitely
not.
not.
Or if you live in a place like I do here in San Francisco, where I have to go up one flight of stairs to get to my apartment.
That's exactly
That's not,
where.
and I'm not leaving it outside no matter how good the alarm system is.
There's GPS and Find My should someone take
I
it.
know, but that's not the point. Like, I actually do not live in a I mean, there's no neighborhood in San Francisco that's dangerous. People, if you're listening and you don't know this yet, that San Francisco is a very, very safe place, despite what you hear in the news. But it's just, you're really tempting fate if you leave something valuable, like leaving stuff in your car anywhere in any big city. And San Francisco is no different. I live on a busy street. Like, it would be silly for me to, like, it's okay if I want to leave it out there for 2 hours in the middle of the day, but overnight I probably wouldn't.
I still recommend locking up your e-bike.
Yes.
No matter what the alarm system, for sure. It's a very expensive purchase.
How much is it?
I think that the retail's about $2,300. When I wrote that review, it was on sale for $1,800, which I think is really quite a good price for the quality of bike that it is.
That's less expensive than I expected for this feature set you described, and for the the way it looks and stuff. Yeah, you're right. It's $22.99, $17.99 on sale. I wonder if that sale is still going on. I'm going to click on it. Let's see if I get it. Yes, you can still get it for $17.99. And hopefully this is an affiliate link for you. Ha.
Are you buying one, Miriam?
No, I don't need it. I don't need it.
You've got a car.
Cool. Yeah, I've got access to cars. I don't own a car anymore, but because I review cars now, I get access to cars almost weekly. So it's, if I really need to go anywhere farther, I should say, than like the city, because as you know, as a New Yorker, you walk everywhere. San Francisco is a collection of villages, basically, and I'm in a little village, so I can walk 3 or 4 blocks and get pretty much everything I need: groceries, coffee, post office, all that. So I don't really need even a bike. But if I were to commute across the city, that's probably when I would want an e-bike, because you don't want to drive across the city. It's just there's too much traffic. Like, if I have to take a meeting somewhere downtown, and even if I have a car as a loan to try for the week, I don't drive. I take a Waymo or something. We have all these autonomous cars here. It's great. You don't have to talk to the person. They drive really well, way better than 90% of the rideshare drivers. And you can put your own music on. It's great. Like, you choose the music right from your phone. We live in the future.
I finally used those in downtown LA a couple weeks back, and I was blown away.
It's amazing, right? Like, I mean, I'm
sad. I'm sad about them, but also they are really, really impressive.
Like, I don't want people to lose their jobs. I think that's a problem that we're not addressing with the technology these days, especially AI. But I feel like my experience is so superior in a self-driving car compared to 90% of my experiences with Ubers and Lyfts and taxis and rideshare, that it's hard for me, even if it's more expensive, it's hard for me to say no. And that sucks. That sucks for those people who are making a living doing that, because some of them are great. I've met some amazing Lyft and Uber drivers over the years, and that I would absolutely want to ride with again. But it's such a minority of them,
Oh, it's just the beginning of the end, as they say, or the beginning of the beginning. I don't know.
The robots are coming to take our jobs, all of the jobs, and then we will just be batteries like the Matrix.
Or we already are.
And maybe we already are. Yeah. Oh, Helena, that was great. Okay, let's talk about some more stuff. I got a whole bunch of news and leaks and rumors and craziness going on. So let's start with Samsung, because, Samsung, there are lots of, first of all, OnePlus US has issued a statement that the OnePlus 15 will ship later, even though, the embargo is coming up and you guys will find out more about it soon. But they're not going to be able to hit that date because of the FCC and the government shutdown. They can't get the phone certified. And we've been hearing rumors before this OnePlus announcement that Samsung is in the same boat for the S26 series, that they might be delaying all the way till March, the launch, compared to January last year, right? And the last 2 years. So this is for the S26 series. And the latest is that there's a date floating around in the rumor mill that's a strong candidate and strongly coming back up and from various sources. That is February 25. for the global launch, because they're not going to launch it separately in the US from another market, right?
Isn't that when MWC is, or right before?
I need to look. That is actually a good question, and I want to answer it right now. Mobile World Congress is on
Because back in the day, Samsung would launch at Mobile World Congress.
March 2nd to March 5th.
Okay, so it's a week later.
Just before. Oh God, please don't tell us we're going to have to review the Samsung phones while we're in Barcelona. That is always a nightmare. Okay, well, anyway, so that's the first rumor. The first rumor is that the Galaxy S26 launch might be delayed. You could look at it both ways. Would like to be positive about it and say that they've chosen a date of late February. It's not that big of a delay, but they're probably dealing with the same thing OnePlus is dealing with. Government shutdown. No FCC to certify the devices. Although I do think that they have labs abroad they can use, like Canada's FCC equivalent, I believe, will certify for the FCC. Like they have a kind of agreement. So maybe it takes longer because, I don't know. Maybe they have another way to do it. Who knows? We'll see. We'll find out. Keep you posted. The next thing is the trifold has been shown now in Korea behind glass. Nobody's been able to touch it at some kind of thing Samsung had a couple of weeks ago. But now the rumor mill is saying that it's actually going to launch globally and in the US early 26 sometime. So I'm wondering if it's going to be the same date or if it's going to be a separate event. What are your thoughts on that? Do you think the trifold, like, insane? Is that good? Is that bad? I mean, Huawei has one, has second gen now. Well, yeah. But like, do you think this is going to work at all in this market?
Huawei has one, and I've been seeing prototypes of that for so many years now. Not from Samsung, but from like TCL. Yeah. Like I remember when TCL was like gung ho about bringing one to market, and that was like beginning right before the pandemic, I think. Yeah, I think it's kind of a ridiculous concept, to be honest. It feels like it's just like, oh, I can do it if he can do it type of thing. Like, and I do appreciate that Samsung is still innovating and wants to be able to do it, but I don't think anybody needs it. Like, I think it's almost like showing off that you can. But why isn't folding in half good enough? The use case to me is just, until we can get those displays to be really like paper thin, I don't really care if it's a trifold. That's where I stand.
I think for me, having used the Huawei very briefly, Michael Fisher had one, he let me play with it. I think you're getting an iPad like when it's unfolded. You're getting 10 inches. You're not getting a square screen, you're getting a rectangular screen. And I think that's going to be the difference. That's going to be for content consumption. You prop that on a tripod, you use a Bluetooth keyboard, you have essentially a laptop with you. I can see that, but the price is the issue, and then the durability of that screen. It's already problematic as a single fold, never mind a dual fold, and so I have a lot of questions around that, right? Like, and then $35, whatever is going to be $3,500, something ridiculous like that. I don't know.
I have played with the Huawei model as well, and yeah, it's beautiful. It's neat, but I don't think. I guess I should also add to what I said, like, I don't think anyone needs another really expensive phone, right?
No.
Like, the folds are already so expensive.
We need more of this.
Exactly. And I think we need more flips. We need more competition in the flip market.
Oh, the flips are so good.
Yeah.
You're a big flip person.
I am.
You still a big flip person? You on a Razr right now?
I have a Razr. Yeah.
Is this which one? Ultra?
The Ultra.
Yeah.
Yes.
That beautiful color.
Our colleagues are always surprised when they see that that's like one of my main phones that I like actively use. And I'm like, it's one of my best phones of the past year.
I agree. It's the best flip phone, I think.
It absolutely is. Samsung, I really think that Motorola has really listened year over year to customers' feedback. And it's also like just so much fun to use. And everywhere I take it around the world, people stop me and they're like, what is that phone? And they assume it's a Samsung, which is really sad.
Yeah.
So Samsung's clearly doing something right with their marketing. And each time I tell them, no, actually it's a Motorola. And I always get a response of Motorola is still in business.
Except when you're in South America.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
So Theo has the Razer Ultra as well. They had the Razer 2023, the Plus, which was the higher end model, the original of the new form factor when they got rid of the chin, you know. And then they had a Z Flip 3 before that, and they did not like the Samsung, and it kept breaking on them too.
I had the Z Flip. I think the first 3 generations, first 4. I actually have the most recent generation too.
Me too, yeah.
So I have it, but I did have problems with pretty much every one of my Z Flips. Like there was the display would peel, would break.
Yep.
So like it seemed that I would be going to Samsung once a year to fix it, and they would replace it. Whereas I did have one problem with the Razer last year with the screen protector. So it was similar to what happened with Samsung. And we're digressing a little bit, but it was interesting because Samsung they have a place you could bring in New York, and they'll fix it for you, or you mail it in. Motorola had a list of locations where I could bring it in, and every location that either I went in physically or called, they're like, "Oh, we don't fix this."
Right. That's the same thing happened to Michael Fisher when he dropped his Razer and broke it. He sent it out to a guy in Australia who fixed it for him.
Australia?
Yeah.
Jeez. Wow.
Yeah, is another YouTube creator who fixes phones. Like, you know how Zach at Jerry Rig Everything breaks phones on TV, on YouTube? This person, he fixes phones. And it's cool because he said, listen, if you can pay for shipping, I'll get the parts and I'll fix it for you.
That is interesting. Well,
that was a couple of years ago. So
well, you know, when the Razer launched this, was it this year or last year? I can't remember. Maybe it was the Razer 2024.
So Razer Plus.
I was with Isa Rodriguez, and she was so excited because she got the pink one, and she was unboxing it, dropped it on concrete. It smashed really badly. So Motorola didn't have any pink ones left, so I gave her my pink one. Because I knew she was going to the Philippines and it would be impossible to get a pink one. And I tried to see if I could get the pink one fixed. And it was like $400 or $500 to get it fixed.
But you didn't manage to get it fixed?
No, because I was like, I'm not spending $400 or $500.
No. Okay.
Like, it's not going to happen.
We remember when we were at the John Deere event in Austin, Texas, and I dropped the Oppo Find N2 Flip?
Oh, I love that phone
and
so much.
I had the same thing happen. The display got a nick on it, that affected and it got worse and worse. And of course, it's an Oppo. I couldn't find it anywhere to fix it. That's another one. Thank God.
But the thing is, Motorola's in the US,
right?
Right. So it's a little bit annoying. They did for the screen protector issue this year. I called them up and they were like, well, if you mail it in, it's $80. And they're like, it's free if you bring it in. And I was surprised by that because I'm like, it's under warranty. Why do I have to pay for this? But then when I pushed back and I said, listen, I went to 3 stores, none of them would fix it. They were like, okay, we're going to waive it. So they accommodated me. But also I feel like these just little things like this, that's not the greatest experience.
Yeah. So in a nutshell, summarizing this, Samsung's seems less reliable, but they have much better service.
Yeah. But the Motorola Razr it is such a good phone.
It's so good.
Yeah.
It's so good. All right, let's see what else we've got here. Oh, so we're done talking about Samsung, Apple. So the Air here, this phone is awesome, except that it doesn't have, as you can see, only a single camera in the back. It's a bit of a pain. That was my biggest. By the way, I'm bringing up the Air again after all these weeks because I finally finished my review for Hot Hardware. So you want benchmarks, you want the in-depth tech nerdiness, go to hothardware.com, read my review. I gave it a 4.5 out of 5 or 4.25, can't remember, somewhere in that, because I think it's a technical tour de force. I think that the way it feels in hand is so much better than the S25 Edge. Like the S25 Edge is technically the better phone. It has an ultra wide. It has a 200 megapixel main camera. It has stereo speakers. It has a SIM tray. It has millimeter wave. All of this, and it's only 0.2 millimeters thicker. So it's barely perceptibly thicker. right? But because of the industrial design, where they basically took an S25 and squished it with a steamroller, it's got those sharp edges and it's just not comfortable to hold. And it's so industrial, kind of like this Redmagic. But that doesn't work for the kind of customer that Apple has. And so Apple knew that, and they chamfered the edges. So the glass is slightly chamfered, the metal titanium edge is slightly chamfered. So it's very subtle. If you look at it visually, it looks like slab sides, but then you hold, you go, oh. And I think that, and some of the innovations around putting the motherboard inside the camera bump and stuff, like, yes, it doesn't have an ultra wide. Yes, it has a mono speaker. Yes, there's no millimeter wave. That's only because of their chipset. Like, they are gonna, once their new C1 or C2, whatever the new chip will be, it'll have a millimeter wave eventually. I'm not worried about that. But lack of SIM, that's expected from Apple at this point. But again, like, if Samsung can do it, So I feel like from a spec perspective, from like a overall like spec sheet thing, the S25 Edge is definitely the better phone. But I think that from a user experience, holding the phone, using it day to day, the whole tactility of it and all that, the Air is the better phone. And so I'm really excited about this rumor we're hearing that Apple is persisting and they're going to make an Air 2 or an iPhone 18 Air or whatever it's going to be called that will have, they're adding the ultra wide. And that alone to me would make it a viable phone. Like, I cannot rock this phone right now simply because it doesn't have two cameras in the back. I will refuse to use a phone that doesn't have an ultra wide. I'm sorry. Telephoto I can live without. This does okay till about 4x, 5x, but no ultra wide, no go. And stereo speakers, whatever. Battery life, we talked about this earlier, right? I can think that silicon carbon, they need to go silicon carbon. Both Samsung and Apple need to for these thin phones if they continue making them. So this rumor has gotten me a little excited simply because I think the Air is a bit of a masterpiece on design. What's been your experience?
Sorry, I don't have the Air. I have the 17 Pro. I chose that.
Have you played with it though? Have you touched it?
I have played with the Air and it's beautiful. I was very tempted, but I preferred the better camera on the Pro. And
I was very surprised because Apple sent me all three, and so I was like, okay. I started with the Air. I'm actually reviewing the 17 Pro still for hot hardware, but I'm taking them to the subarctic, kind of like, how I took the Oppo for GeekSpin, the Oppo Find X7 Ultra on my Antarctica cruise. I'm doing that with the iPhones to see the Aurora Borealis, aka the Northern Lights.
Nice.
So it should be interesting to see if I can capture some good stuff and the difference in quality between the 17 and the 17 Pro Max in terms of image quality in a very difficult, condition like that, with all the white snow and stuff around and everything. It'll be really cool. So expect that sometime in December, folks. I know it's kind of late for an iPhone 17 series review, but here, I like long-term stuff. Same with the Oppo that I'm reviewing. You'll have it in a few weeks. And it's bonkers good. I love that phone so hard.
So do I. It is a freaking excellent phone. It's my camera.
Yeah, it is the camera phone of the moment right now. There's no doubt about it. It's definitely one of the top 5 phones of the year for me.
Same.
Absolutely.
No,
even though we have the X8 Ultra as well, but because that's China only, it doesn't have, like, it's missing some things that I need as a Google Western user. And yes, the cameras are the main sensor is definitely better on the Ultra than this. But this new telephoto and that crazy Canon thing that you can adjust, oh my God, I'm just like, I'm such a nerd, you know me. Like, I'm so all over that thing. We have a few more items. Speaking of the Oppo, and before that, we talked about the OnePlus, and we're going to get back to that. But the Realme GT8 Pro is coming globally. So this phone has been launched I think in China, it's coming soon to China, but now we've heard that it's coming probably on November 20th to the West globally. So I have that phone here. I can't show it to you. It's still under embargo. But
I have it too.
Imagine an Oppo Find X9 Pro with a Snapdragon chip in it instead of the Dimensity. And imagine that it's slightly detuned on the camera front. It still has a 200 megapixel telephoto, which is crazy. It doesn't have the Canon or anything like that, but it has an interchangeable camera pod surround. And that's all documented stuff. I'm not breaking an embargo by telling you that. I just can't show you the phone. I can't show you pictures taken of the phone yet. But that phone has got me very excited because it's like the first time that we have a Realme flagship that, at least based on the Chinese specs of the OnePlus 15, is a better phone than the OnePlus. Because they came very close to the GT5 2 years ago. GT7 last year, GT7 Pro, didn't have wireless charging. It was a dead ringer of the OnePlus in every other way. But instead of wireless charging, they put a really big battery in it. I think it was 6,500 or something milliamp hour. So big battery, no wireless charging, but still, to me, not as well-rounded as the OnePlus 13 at the time. But this thing, with that 200 megapixel telephoto, the fact that it has wireless charging, that's what we know from the spec sheet. That, I think that is, to me, what's exciting about the Realme, is that we finally have a flagship, that's worthy. The GT5 Pro had wireless charging, but it only had an 8 megapixel telephoto compared to the whatever it was on the OnePlus 12 at the time, the 48 or something. So yeah, it's the first time I think it's going to be better than a OnePlus. And that kind of makes me worry about OnePlus a little bit. Like, I don't know. We'll see what happens. But are you excited about this GT8 Pro?
I wasn't until I got it, and then I was like, oh, this looks like it's going to have a pretty good camera. This is a nice change of pace for Realme. Not that their cameras are bad, but this is like their next leveling it.
Yeah, this Ryko partnership that they've announced, I think, is really interesting. Yeah, there's some good stuff about this. So stay tuned. We'll have more about that. OnePlus. Okay, so OnePlus US made an official announcement, as I said, about they're going to ship later because of the government shutdown, the FCC. But more importantly, they gave us some specs. They officially gave us some specs that we didn't have before, right? So here's what we know. It's going to have a Snapdragon 8 Elite Gen 5. We knew that already. It's going to have the same 1.5K resolution LTPO OLED at 165 hertz as the Chinese model. That, has like 1800 nits high brightness mode. Pretty nice. Like all kinds of certifications for eye comfort and stuff. I expect nothing less, to be honest with you. But it promised to be able to play 165 frames per second Call of Duty, Brawl Stars, that kind of Clash of Clans, that kind of video game. So it seems like OnePlus is kind of pushing like Redmagic, this kind of gaming angle, right? What are your thoughts on that?
I feel like OnePlus has always been pushing the gaming angle, so not exactly a new thing. They always emphasize it, how powerful, and how well equipped their phones are for gaming. But I don't know. This whole launch has been, it's a different, it doesn't have the same flair as their usual launches.
Yes.
And that has just been like, personally a little bit disappointing.
I agree.
And, you and me, Miriam, we had such a great time last year on the cruise launch.
That was so good.
Where OnePlus brought us to test the cruise out on the high seas. And that was really fun. It was a very creative way for a brand to get you to test the photography chops of a phone and how waterproof it was.
And it delivered.
Yeah. It was a brilliant way. And I feel like this has just been like just like a very, very calm launch. I don't know if they're having anything in person in the US. I don't think they are.
I don't think so.
And this is like not their style, right?
No.
They've always had it's always been about the fans. It's always been about getting media together too. So it just feels, this is just a bit, personally, I'm felt this a little disappointed that it's not, it's not coming out with a big splash. But I don't remember how much I'm allowed to talk about the phone, so I'm going to stop there.
That's good. You haven't said anything that you're not supposed to. I'm, again, reading these specs that were announced officially by the global OnePlus team. So 7,300 milliamp hour battery, 120 watt wired charging, 50 watt wireless charging, and IP69K rating. Remember that no matter what officially is coming out of OnePlus for the West, we already have the Chinese phone. The big question, and we have those specs and they're public, the big question was how much would be different on the Western model. And it's so far from what they've released, it looks like the only thing we don't know is the cameras. And so if you look at the Chinese specs of the cameras, it's slightly detuned, like the Realme, slightly detuned versus the Oppo, right? Like, of course, there's the biggest detune is the telephoto, which is only 50. But you look at the main sensor and the ultra wide, they're smaller. They're smaller hardware. The lens aren't as fast, like f1.5 on the Oppo. Those Chinese specs for the OnePlus 15 are saying f1.8. So, stuff like that. And then we lost the Hasselblad, and we know that we lost the Hasselblad. And I don't want to be pessimistic, but the Hasselblad, not only did it have great color science, and it really made for phenomenal photos in general, it had things like the X-Pan mode, and stuff like that. And we're going to miss that. And of course, Realme said, we're going to go with Ryko. So what's OnePlus doing? And, they've told us about some new imaging pipeline. I think they've officially made that thing in the West as well. And my biggest question right now is, and I won't be able to answer this till hopefully in a couple of weeks, is how, have they found a way to compensate for the lack of Hasselblad? And perhaps they're being cautious, right? I think that's what's going on here. I think the spec sheet so far looks really great. We don't know the pricing either, right? Is it staying the same price as last year, $899? Is it going up in price? We don't know. But once we know, we'll be able to say okay, this is the kind of value proposition that OnePlus is delivering. And if the cameras are any good, which I don't think they can be. Look, the OnePlus 13R last year, right? The baby one was doing pretty good with the cameras, even though it didn't have Hasselblad. So with this new imaging engine, I think it's going to be okay. The question is it okay enough to be, for us to not pan it as reviewers? Let's find out.
Yeah, I think but OnePlus and cameras have always been our biggest complaint.
But then they fixed it. The last 2-3 years was great. 11, 12, 13.
It's gotten better, but it just never, I don't feel like they've ever really been able to.
It's not Oppo good. Oppo is keeping it to themselves, aren't they?
Yeah. And it's, and we discussed this last year about last year's OnePlus model versus their parent flagship. And we were like, Oppo's just killing it. Why can't they share? Why can't they share for the Americans?
I think Pete Lau doesn't want to do that.
Yeah.
And I think also there's a price pressure here, especially with tariffs and stuff, So
that for sure. That's for sure. Yeah.
Let's find out. A couple of more OnePlus rumors here. We've got a OnePlus 15T/15S rumored to be coming. Believe it or not, these are the same phones. So they're just named in different markets, different things. Last year, we got a 13S and a 13T. I can't remember which market was which. One was global and one was India. Basically, it was a mini flagship. Mini in quotes, small in quote, 6.3 inch. So basically, think iPhone 17 base model in size, right? So smaller, but not iPhone mini or super small. But the idea was to still keep the same specs almost. Last year, this current year, the 13S, 13T, I borrowed it briefly from Spencer. He had one floating around for those of us who wanted it. And I tried it out, and it's basically just the same as a OnePlus 13, smaller in size. It did lack an ultra wide, which is really weird. It had a good telephoto, but somehow they, like how the Razr had no ultra wide for a while there and it didn't make sense. They did the same mistake. So hopefully this 15 will have that crazy Snapdragon 8 Elite Gen 5 and all that awesome flagshipness, but it will have an ultra wide alongside the telephoto. We'll find out. So stay tuned for that. This is not coming to the US. I mean, it's going to be an India global thing. The other thing is the A series, which is unique to China. The A6 came out just 2 weeks ago in China. The Ace 5 last year became the 13R for us. So put that in your head, as the Ace is like the cheaper flagship from OnePlus in the West, the R model. So the A6 is out. Somebody found, was going through security in China or something on an airport, and they had a bunch of OnePlus boxes in the bin, and somebody took a photo of the boxes, and one of them says OnePlus Ace 6 Pro Max.
Interesting.
So the A series is turning into its own little silo of models. It looks like there might be an A6, which is out, it's official, and maybe an Ace 6 Pro and an Ace 6 Pro Max. We'll find out, but this doesn't apply to any of us. It's China only, right? The thing that's interesting is, you know how Xiaomi named their flagship, right? The Xiaomi 17 Pro and 17 Pro Max. They went from 15, they jumped 16 and went to 17 and used Pro Max instead of, whatever, Ultra, whatever they ever use normally this year. And I'm worried that the Chinese, this is the thing that I'm finding, even with the Oppo Find X9 Pro, if I have one criticism is that slab-sided design is too iPhone-like. Flat screen, slab size, I'm not in. I want the 2.5D glass we had on the Oppo Find X8 Pro last year. And also the software. It looks more like, ColorOS is looking more and more like iOS. And I'm worried that the same thing is happening with OnePlus. We've seen the OnePlus 15, the phone. It looks almost identical to the Oppo.
I feel the same way. When I love the Find X9. We both can go on and on about it, but I am disappointed with the design. I'm like, it's too much like Apple. And I love that for the past couple of years they're experimenting and doing different things. I don't know, I guess people don't like the vegan leather. People didn't like the tapered. I don't know. I loved it.
Me too.
So I'm
100%.
disappointed. I don't like everybody copying Apple. Let Apple be Apple. And you guys innovate and do things differently.
It's way too homogeneous out there. We don't want that.
Well, I mean, if you pick up the Find X9 and then you look at a Samsung phone and you look at an Apple phone, they all look.
They lost the round camera pod. That was so cool.
But they all look more or less the same.
Yeah.
Especially if you all look at the silver model or whatever it is, the gray model.
So the good news is the Realme GT8 Pro that has the interchangeable camera pod surrounds has a round one, so you can go back to that vibe of the Oppo vibe if you want. And speaking of which, if you want a phone made by the BBK group, or formerly what used to be BBK, that's kind of peripheral to these Oppo, OnePlus, Realme phones, but just as good camera-wise, the Vivo X300 Pro, which came out in China a few weeks back, which is almost head-to-head with the Oppo Find X9 Pro in terms of specs and camera performance. It also has that crazy 200 megapixel telephoto. That phone is now available globally. And even though it's iPhone-like slab sides and flat screen, it has a round camera pod in the back. Hooray, Vivo. That's out now globally. I don't have one. TK came on the show, I think 2 weeks ago, and did a review for us and showed us the phone, and he loves it. And he says it's pretty much Oppo Find X9 Pro dead ringer with different software and a round camera pod. So there we go. So stay tuned for that, folks. And then finally, we have the Huawei Mate 70 Air. Of course, Huawei had to make an Air competitor. Right? What's your take on that?
Like you said, of course. Why are Chinese companies using Pro Max in their name? It's a similar game here.
Yeah.
And it's a shame because I feel like these companies do so much innovative things, and then Apple copies them. So it makes me sad when they're copying Apple. But I guess
we're all converging. That's the problem that is bothering me. It's other than folding phones right now, there's really no cool stuff going on. Except for the Xiaomi Redmi K90 Pro or Ultra that has a subwoofer in the back in addition to the stereo speakers for more bass. That kind of stuff, I'm like, oh yeah. But yeah, it's kind of disappointing. But here's the thing about this Air. It has a 6.9 inch screen. This is a big phone. And it's not super thin. It's called Air, but it's 6.6 millimeters. Now, the iPhone Air, this guy is 5.6, so it's an entire millimeter thicker. But because it has a much bigger screen, it's going to feel and look really thin, right? But of course, being Huawei, it's got a big battery because, silicon carbon, and it's got a lot of surface area to put a battery in. And more importantly, it has a proper triple camera system in the back. It has a telephoto, 12 megapixel, has an ultra wide, I can't remember the specs. It has a proper 50 megapixel main sensor with OIS. So they're not skimping on the cameras, but I was a little disappointed because Huawei can outdo anyone in tech. And that they made it thicker than iPhone. I was like, come on, you could have matched the iPhone. Yeah, the bigger screen, it makes sense. You want to put a slightly bigger battery in there, you have more surface area, but I don't know. I want to remind everyone, and you remember this too, Moto made a 5.2 millimeter thin phone 10 years ago called the Moto Z that came with the magnet mod accessories. We can make thin phones. It's not a new thing.
Yep. And what is the? I want to go back to the Razor, but how thin is the Razor? The Ultra. I feel like it's also really thin.
Yeah, it's not as thin as
But
the Airs.
no, it's
Like
not. Okay.
unfolded, no, it's not in the same league. It's like six something. You have to go to the folds, like to the the Galaxy Z Fold 7. Now that's thinner than an Air, or the Huawei trifold. If you unfold it, it's thinner than an Air. Or the Oppo Find N5, which is the Oppo folding phone. It's just exactly the same thickness as the Galaxy Z Fold 7, even though they're, well, they're head to head basically. But like I think that if you can make a Z Fold or a folding phone that's thin, then cut it in half and make that a real phone.
That's a very good point. That's a valid point.
And in fact, I think that this Air here is Apple's kind of stepping stone towards making their folding phone. They had to explore the thin technology on something, so they made the Air. And I think Samsung got rumor of Apple making a super thin phone, and they were like, hold my beer, we can make the S25 Edge. Right? So, yeah. Listen, should we wrap up?
Yeah, I mean, it's been interesting because it's been a while since we've had a catch up on your show. So thank you.
Absolutely.
It's really fun to nerd out with you. And it's what's also always interesting is like we almost always think the same things about the devices that we're testing. Like we more or less have the same perspective. So that's very something very comforting about that. And I think it also just for anyone who reads your reviews, my reviews, I think it really shows how fair we are with our reviews. And like our perspectives are quite spot on if we're thinking the same things, right?
Absolutely. Do you want to tell folks where they can find you online, all your social media handles, wherever you happen to still be active, and of course, GeekSpin. Tell them about GeekSpin. I write there for you.
Yeah. Well, you can find me at GeekSpin. That's geekspin.co, not .com. And I'm personally on Twitter as Helena Stone. Also, GeekSpin's on Twitter and Instagram, GeekSpin Co. So.
All right. So yeah, folks, go check out Elena's review of that Segway bike. You guys are going to do more e-bike reviews, so stay tuned for that. And of course, my phone reviews there, Elena's phone reviews. There's lots of content, tech content there, so check it out. Geekspin.co. And you know where to find me, folks, on the internet. I'm at Tankrel. That's TNKGRL, like the comic book character Tankrel. Drop all the vowels, you get my handle, and that's pretty much everywhere. I'm mostly active on Threads, Instagram, Blue Sky. Also have a TikTok these days. It's a TNKGRL69, like my birth year. So, I couldn't get the handle I wanted. Yeah. So anyway, find me there. I don't really like TikTok, but I feel like I create content there. Seems to have worked. I've got some reels that did pretty well. And then, the podcast lives at mobiletechpodcast.com. So please subscribe and tell your friends. And, if your app lets you rate or review the show, please consider doing that. Well, on all the major platforms, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube Music, all that. So check out the podcast if you're new here on a weekly basis. And then there's a YouTube channel, youtube.com/mobiletechpodcast. You can get videos there every now and then. I just published my Oppo Find X9 Pro unboxing. You get to see the crazy Canon and how it mounts and all the accessories and all the cool stuff. So check it out, youtube.com/mobiletechpodcast. And you know how YouTube works. Like, subscribe, tell your friends, click the bell, comment, all that stuff. And then finally, Patreon. I mentioned it earlier. If you want to support me, there's a Patreon. You can get a video version of the podcast every week, a day in advance for $5 a month. So it's like a day in advance every week for $5 a month. And we show you stuff like those two phones I showed earlier. And you can also see our faces. And sometimes there's extra content because we go over time. So please support me if you can. Patreon.com/TNKGRL. And I want to thank our sponsor, Mint Mobile. So as you know, I'm constantly reviewing multiple phones. And while that's fun, it also means I'm constantly spending a lot of money for wireless service on multiple SIMs. That's where Mint Mobile comes in, and that's who I'm partnering with for today's podcast. If you also want to save money on your wireless service, switch to Mint Mobile. As tech-savvy early adopters, you've probably heard of Mint Mobile before, but let me quickly tell you how awesome their service is. Mint Mobile offers premium wireless for as low as $15 a month, and you don't have to sacrifice any coverage, speed, or data. They're built on the nation's largest 5G network. They keep costs low because they sell direct to you online. They cut out the retail stores and salespeople. Why should you pay more than you have to for access to the same network? In my experience testing phones, Mint Mobile delivers the same data speeds and call quality as the big three for a fraction of the cost. Switching to Mint is super easy. Thanks to their eSIMs, you can sign up and activate immediately right on your phone from the comfort of your home. No more standing around and waiting in line at a big wireless store. You can keep your current device and phone number and easily switch services. And if your phone isn't eSIM compatible, Mint will ship you a new SIM free of charge. All Mint Mobile plans include unlimited nationwide talk and text, lightning fast 5G, and free mobile hotspot. Mint will show you how much data you use each month and recommend plans that save you money. Mint also offers a modern family plan that lets you set up a super affordable family plan with as little as 2 lines. Use my link mintmobile.com/mobiletech to get premium wireless starting for $15 a month. That's mintmobile.com/mobiletech. Stop paying more than you need on your wireless bill and start saving big with Mint Mobile. And Helena, thanks so much for being my guest. So good to nerd out together. I appreciate you being here. Thank you.
Thanks for having me again.
Absolutely. We'll have you on again in the future, folks. We'll have another show next week, so stay tuned for that. Until then, cheers, everybody.